Hello and welcome to Mr. Randy's Wine and Spirits. I am Mr. Randy and we're here today for another episode of Talking with Mr. Randy. So the subject of today's discussion is going to be, well, it's more of an informational teaching sort of part of the whole whiskey industry. It's called maturation or maturing and finishing. So what is the difference between a maturing or maturation and a finishing? So while we chew on this for just a moment, let's go ahead and have a pour. I don't want to just sit there and look at it. I'm going to go ahead and put that is a very loose cork, to be completely honest. So I'm sitting here and I was watching the newest episode of the Bourbon Junkies doing their bad vent. They're currently up to day 16, which I know they're batch shooting, but it is what it is. It's still hilarious. Those two guys just bounce off each other. So what is the difference? So first of all, what is maturation and the maturing and the finishing? Maturing is one of the initial phases that you do with the spirit, the white dog, if you will, once they've distilled it, once they've used a mash bill full of grain, the corn, what have you, and they distill it, the spirit, the clear spirit they get from that mash bill is what they put into the barrels. And that's where it goes into the barrels and it sits. That is called the maturation. That is where it matures in that barrel. It sort of leaches in and pulls out as the weathers change over the years. The wood, it contracts and it relaxes. And it pulls in the spirit and it soaks into the wood and then it releases it and it pulls it in and it just contracts and retracts back and forth over the seasons through the heat and the cold. And that's what gives it these amazing characteristics. Let me go ahead and get a taste on it. Let me get at this because this is... It's kind of interesting, a little spicy. So the choice of the oak that's used in the barrels gives it its characteristics. How long it sits in those barrels also attributes to the characteristics. Where it sits on the planet also is extremely detrimental. Scotch, because it's in Scotland, it's over there, it's in the UK, it's on different elevations and different temperatures, humidities, pressures and whatnot. That makes it what it is, beautiful. Scotch is wonderful. Ireland is a little bit different, but kind of similar. That's why Irish kind of goes hand in hand with Scotch over there. Irish is pretty good. Scotch is way better. It's just where it's matured and how it's done. The distillers and the people who actually do all that stuff, they're wizards. They're absolute freaking wizards, okay, when they do these things. These are master craftsmen. Now, anybody could just make a mash bill, distill it, and put it in a wooden barrel and let it sit for a while. It's these people who have the experience, the knowledge, the history behind it, and the passion to make it into what we have today. That's what it's all about. So maturation is the spirit sitting in the cask, barrel, the vessel, where it matures over time. It does its work, its magic, if you will, and then this is what you get from it. So now we move on to the second part, finish. Sometimes they call it resting. Finishing is where you take the whiskey you've already created out of the bourbon, out of the wooden oak barrels, casks, what have you. Now that it's done, this would basically be the first step. Now, when you do a finishing, you take something like a sherry cask, a wine cask, a tequila cask, whatever you've already matured, a bourbon cask, you've already matured the original spirit. And now it is what it is, and it's gone on its journey down the road, hopefully to your shelf, to your glass, and to your enjoyment. So now that we have the first step done, we take the second step. We put this in those other barrels, like a sherry cask that they use to make sherry, wines, and whatnot have you. What we do is we take those, then we pour this into that, and we let that rest or finish in those casks. So it absorbs and it leaches out some of those characteristics of whatever was previously in those vessels. And that's called finish. Finishing is usually a few months to at best a couple of years. Sometimes, depending on what was previously in the vessel, you don't need to let it rest or finish. Sometimes they consider resting to be a very short term, months at best. The finishing might take months to years. But sometimes, depending on how you craft it, it might not take that long. You might not want a whole lot of sherry or tequila in your whiskey. Maybe just a little bit to give it a little type of sweetness, a little type of tanginess, a little edge, if you will. So there it is. The differences between maturation and finishing. The maturation is an essential part of the whiskey process. The finishing, though it not make necessary, can definitely come out great. Sometimes it's horrible. It's a horrible mess. I'm not going to get into that. But anyways, there it is. I'm going to get back to the video of the bourbon junkies and their antics. Oh boy, I'm good for a laugh. Well, let us know what you think. How do you feel about finishes? And what's your favorite type of maturation? What kind of oak do you prefer? American? European? Let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for stopping by here at Mr. Randy's Wine and Spirits. Let's have a good one.